Shalom and welcome to Hebrew Bible Secrets with your host, Rabbi Beaton. We are reading today from the book of Mark, starting at chapter 16. The book of Mark, chapter 16. 1. And when the Sabbath was past, Miriam of Magdala and Miriam, the mother of Yaakov, and Salome had brought sweet spices, that they might come and anoint him. 2. And very early in the morning, Mia Shabbatan, the first Sabbath, they came to the tomb at the rising of the sun. 3. And they said among themselves, who shall roll us away the stone from the door of the tomb? 4. And when they looked, they saw that the stone was rolled away, for it was very large. 5. And entering into the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, clothed in a long white garment, and they were frightened. 6. And he said to them, be not afraid. You seek Yahushua of Nazareth, who was impaled. He is risen. He is not here. Behold the place where they laid him. 7. But go your way. Tell his disciples and Kepha, Peter, that he goes before ye into Galilee. There shall you see him, as he said to you. 8. And they went out quickly and fled from the tomb, for they trembled and were amazed. Neither said they anything to any man, for they were afraid. So please note now, we have our editor's note, which reads, the long ending of Marcus, according to important witnesses, the Besorah of Mark ends at verse 8. And the rest does not exist in the early manuscripts. The rest is a later addition, which we are including here for completeness only, and should not be considered part of the original Besorah. Okay, so with that said, I will move to 9. 9. Now when Yahushua was risen early, the first Sabbath of the week, he appeared first to Miriam of Magdala, out of whom he had cast 7 demons. 10. And she went and told them that had been with him, as they mourned and wept. 11. And they, when they heard that he was alive, and had been seen of her, believed not. 12. After that he appeared in another form to 2 of them, and they walked and went into the country. 13. And they went and told it to the residue, neither believed them. 14. Afterward he appeared to the 11 as they sat at a meal, and rebuked them with their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen. 15. And he said to them, go into all the world, and proclaim the Besorah to every creature. 16. He that believes and is immersed shall be rescued, but he that believes not shall be judged. 17. And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out unclean ruachots, spirits, demons. They shall speak with new tongues. 18. They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. 19. So then after Yahushua had spoken to them, he was received up into Shamayim, and sat on the right hand of Elohim. 20. And they went forth, and proclaimed everywhere, Yahushua working with them, and confirming the word with signs following. Amen. So that now brings us to the end of chapter 16. So let's go back and have a look at some of the footnotes in chapter 16. So the first footnote we have is in verse 2. And very early in the morning, Mia Shabbatan, the first Sabbath. So let's have a look at the first Sabbath. So we have here, see footnote in Matthew 28 and 1. So let's have a look at Matthew 28 and 1. So chapter 28 verse 1 reads, in the evening of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn towards the first of the week, came Miriam of Magdala and the other Miriam to see the tomb. Okay, so we have a footnote here for in the evening of the Sabbath. So let's have a look at this quickly. So the Greek phrase opsi, Sabbaton, has the idea of late in the day, but not the end of the day. The Munster's Hebrew and the Aramaic have the reading in the evening. It can also be translated in context as on one of the Sabbaths, because the Omer count is in view, to bring us to the 7 Sabbaths, which equal 49 days, to arrive at the Chag, the celebration of weeks. The ingathering harvest, referred to as Pentecost and Shavuot. So in the evening is really 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday, before the weekly Sabbath ends. Yahshua had already risen. He did not rise on Sunday early morning, but Saturday before the Sabbath ended. Okay, so we have another footnote here for towards the first of the week. So let's have a look at this. So we have here the Greek phrase Mia, Strong's Concordance G3391, Sabbaton, Strong's Concordance G4521. The idea is of a full week during the Omer count, or just the weekly Sabbath is in view. From this, we know that Yahshua was killed on Wednesday, buried in the tomb on Wednesday evening, the 14th of Nisan. Then, taking the 3 full nights and full days, we arrive at just before the Sabbath ends on Saturday. We need to understand that the Pharisees had switched the original Passover date to the 15th, according to the Hebrew calendar and based on Deuteronomy 16:6. But at the place where Yahweh your power chooses to make his name abide, there you shall sacrifice the Passover at twilight, at the going down of the sun, at the time you came out of Egypt, while Yahshua was impaled on the 14th, the actual Torah specified day of the Passover. The Pharisees understood the Passover during the time of Yahshua to be at the going down of the sun, starting on the 15th of Abib. This switch must have happened no more than 300 years before Yahshua came on the scene, since in Ezra's time the Passover was still celebrated on the 14th of Abib. So in fact, there were 2 Passovers that year, one celebrated on the 14th and one on the 15th of Abib. The Samaritans back then, and even still today, celebrate the Passover on the 14th of Abib. With the traditional Christians' Good Friday to Easter Sunday scenario, the sign of Yonah is violated, thus making Yahshua a liar. It is believed in some circles that Yahshua's 3 days and 3 nights statement does not require a literal span of 72 hours. Their reasoning is that a part of a day can be reckoned as a whole day in the Hebrew world. With this in mind, since Yahshua died in the afternoon, example 3 p.m., and then they would say that the remainder of Friday constituted the first day. The second day would be Saturday, and part of Sunday would thus be the third. However, there is a big flaw with this argument that is not taken into consideration. Only 2 nights, example, Friday night and Saturday night, are accounted for in this explanation. Something is obviously wrong with this warped traditional view. Okay, so I hope that's given you a bit more understanding. So let's go to the next footnote, which we have in verse 9. Now when Yeshua was risen early, the first Sabbath of the week. Let's have a look at this first Sabbath of the week. Rising early at the Sabbath means he rose Saturday evening, our time, just before the Sabbath ended. This is the term many Bible translations mistranslate as early in the week, making it sound like it should be Sunday, when early in the week would be better translated early the first Sabbath, to be any time between 3:30 p.m. and 6:30 p.m, which is the time of Yahshua's resurrection. The writer had in view the count for the celebration of Pentecost, which is termed in Judaism counting the Omer. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 16. And he that believes and is immersed shall be rescued, but he that believes not shall be judged. Okay, so he that believes. So let's have a look at this. So we have here the word believe takes us back to the Shema, to hear, to obey Torah in Deuteronomy 6 and 4. The word is not in isolation or some kind of magic formula. You have to accept the covenants and then be immersed to join into Israel to be saved. This immersion was for the person to confirm that he will now obey Torah. Okay, so obviously if you want to come back to the commandments, you have to be immersed, and then you've got to start obeying the commandments. So let's have a look at Deuteronomy 6 and 4 quickly. So Deuteronomy 6 and 4, and it says here, we've got here, the Shema, our creed. Hear, O Israel. Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Akkad, which means one. So it actually reads here, number 4, Hear, O Israel. Yahweh, our supreme one. Yahweh is Akkad, is one. Okay? So hear Israel. So Israel must hear and do and keep the commandments. Okay? So let's go to the next footnote, which we have is in verse 18. They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. Okay, let's have a look at this. Yeshua is not asking people to handle snakes and be bitten. As we said, this bit of the gospel is not in the original, and we have heard that some have handled snakes and have been bit by them, hoping to live, but have died in their foolishness. Okay, so, this part has been added, so, whatever you do not start picking up snakes, especially poisonous ones. So as I said before, this part has been added, so don't take it literally. So let's go to the last footnote, which is in verse 19. So then after Yahshua had spoken to them, he was received up into Shamayim and sat on the right hand of Elohim. So let's have a look at this quickly. So the reference from Psalm 110:5, right hand is the side of Gavrot, the judgment side of Yahweh, the side of strength. Okay, so let's have a look at Psalm 110:5 quickly. So I'll read from verse 4 and then we'll go straight into 5, okay? So verse 4 reads, Yahweh has sworn and will not relent. You are a Kohen, a priest, forever, in the manner of Melchizedek. 5. Yahweh at your right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. So that now brings us to the end of chapter 16, and I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the other side. This is Rabbi Beaton saying, thank you for watching, and Baruch Shem, Kivod Malkuto, Leolam Va'ed. Benevolent be the name of his esteemed kingdom, forever and ever and ever. Amen. Thank you for watching. Shalom, shalom.